Okay. Hi everybody. By the way, if you have questions or clarifications, please don't be afraid to ask. This is the most different parsha, Torah portion that we have leading up to this point. Last week was where all the fun and games ended. The story, the narrative, beautiful biblical narrative, went right into all these intricate laws that we discussed, civil law and torts, and then we start this week, and now we are going to construct the tabernacle in the desert. What's the significance of the tabernacle in the desert? The significance is that you are going to create a place that God's presence is going to be most felt in the world. But wait a minute, God's everywhere. He's at the top of Mount Everest. He's at the bottom of the trench out there in the Pacific that's 35,000 feet down. He's everywhere. How can you put God in one place? But you're going to construct a place that the awareness of God is going to be so manifest, it's going to be like you can taste it and feel it. And you know the feeling because you all were in Israel and you all went to the Kotel and you just felt something different. You just felt something was more available to you. Well, times that by 1,000,000 and you got the tabernacle. The tabernacle is it's called the Mishkan in Hebrew, which means, tent is a translation. It became moved with us for many centuries. It was in the desert. Joshua had it. The Jews had set it up in 4 different locations until they finally secured Jerusalem. Jerusalem was paid for by King David. It's interesting. The places that the Arabs, try to take a hold of, we bought. We bought Hebron, we bought the Temple Mount, and we bought Jerusalem, by the way, and we bought Nablus, known as Shechem, known as Nablus. It was Naples. They called it Naples, but the Arabs can't say the P, which is funny. Palestinian, they can't say P, so they say Be. So it became, instead of Naples, it became Nablus. But that was where Yosef was buried, and those are like very tough areas to be in today. And so the tabernacle is the beginning of the temple. The temple is eventually going to be put permanently in Jerusalem. The tabernacle is the traveling temple. And it's amazing that they were able to build this thing because they were slaves. Slaves don't learn intricate skills of metallurgy, goldsmithing, silversmithing, weaving. That was not what they did. They did hard labor. It's like coming out of a concentration camp and now we're going to create Google. Like, what? Yeah. That's what we're going to do. So it's not our parsha right now, but we're going to see how the Jews evolved into being able to leave Egypt as slaves with a slave mentality, and be able to construct the most sophisticated building ever. Like you think, we got climate-controlled buildings now and, computer-controlled. You didn't have a building that would bring God's presence manifest into the world. This was like spiritually loaded, and it took a lot of wisdom how to build this thing in terms of everything being exact, correct, and having the desired effect. Here are the ingredients that they built it with, okay? And everybody was supposed to donate. They only got these ingredients from the people themselves, from the 3 million Jews that left Egypt, 2 to 3 million Jews left Egypt. They are the following: gold, silver, copper, turquoise, purple, and scarlet wool, linen, goat hair, red dye ram skins, sheep skins. I have no idea what that stuff is. Acacia wood. Where did the acacia wood come from? You're talking about a desert. Jacob planted acacia trees. So back in the day, over 200 years ago, so the Jews, when they left, would have what they needed to build the tabernacle later on. Imagine doing that for your family, that you are planting something that you're going to need this in 200 years. That's right. That's foresight. Oil for illumination, spices from the anointment oil, aromatic incense, and they said when you were in Jerusalem, you could smell it. The incense smelled so fantastic when you were in Jerusalem in the good old days when we had the temple. You knew you were there. It was aroma. It was beautiful. Shoham stones and stones for setting for the ephod and the breastplate. Okay, that's all the ingredients. That's it. That's all it's going to take to build this thing, but it's how they shaped it and how they built it. That's what mattered. Here's what they built. Here's what they're. Oh, by the way, this is what they're commanded. They're not going to build it yet. All this chapter, all this Torah portion is what they're going to build. They don't even have the architect. They don't even have the architect yet to build it. The architect is going to be Bezalel. And if you know anything about art in Israel, what's the number one school of art in Israel? The Academy of Bezalel. That's what they call it. They named their top art school after Bezalel. It's like Michelangelo's School of Art. Okay. By the way, he was 13 years old. Yes, I can't explain that one. So they're going to build. The first thing they're commanded to build is the Ark. Think of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Same thing. The Ark. They're going to build a cover to the Ark. They're going to build what's called the table, where they put all the showbreads. That's a whole explanation in and of itself, but there are 12 breads that they kept fresh every week, and they exchanged them every week, these 12 showbreads. They're going to build the famous menorah. The menorah was so complicated, and we'll try to get into it today, that Moses couldn't even understand God explaining it to him, and finally God had to make a vision of it so Moses could finally understand what God was talking about. And the way they made the menorah, it was one solid piece of gold, an ingot of gold, that they pounded out into the shape of the menorah. I can't imagine how valuable that would be in an auction at Sotheby's, right? And where is the menorah today? Anybody know? The Pope's got it. So I have hello?
Yeah, I'm just saying, wow.
Yeah, it's in the Vatican. So I have on my door. I'm kind of crazy. On the door of my office, I keep I rotate them out, but I keep things I see that I think are interesting. So someone sent me Netanyahu meeting the Pope and giving him a menorah, okay, as like a present. But they put in on the caption, Netanyahu saying to the Pope, "It's like this one, only bigger. You'll let us know if you see it lying around, right?" So they know the menorah is in the Vatican archives. We know that to be true.
When was it last seen?
On the Arch of, well, it's interesting. Two things. Number one, everybody knows about the famous Arch of Titus in Rome. Arch of Titus destroyed Jerusalem on the second time, and he brought the Jews back as slaves, and they have this big arch by the Colosseum, and it's called the Arch of Titus. And on it is depicted the Jews with the Romans, bringing them in on as slaves, and they're carrying the menorah. They're carrying the menorah. Now, how would the Romans know about the menorah and all that? They were carrying the menorah in Rome. There's a famous story of a great Rosh Yeshiva that was in Rome, got into Rome on a rainy night. I guess he was going there to do some fundraising, and he said, he got on the plane. He said he called up the head rabbi of the city who he knew, who was going to show him around to a few wealthy Jews, and he said, it's 11 o'clock at night. He goes, I must see the Arch of Titus right now. So the rabbi, on a rainy night, they went out to the Arch of Titus, and he got out of the cab in the pouring rain, and he said, Titus, Titus, I'm here. You're gone. We're still here. You're gone. They thought they destroyed the Jews. 2,000 years later, the rabbis at the Arch of Titus. Titus is gone. The Romans are gone. The Jews are still here. That's the story. That's the. You can go see the Arch of Titus today. Then they built. Then the tabernacle had covers around it. So they had partitions over the top of. Over the top. They had a roof. It had a roof over the top, goat's hair, and then they had beams that surrounded where the menorah was, where the table was, the shulchan is called, with the breads, where the ark was. It was all encircled by wood encased in gold. Encased in gold. Golden beams of wood. I'll tell you what's interesting about these pieces of this wood. Imagine like a picket fence, okay, on three sides, like a rectangle with an open side. So bars went down one side, let's call it the north side, and the bars would go and hold the wood together, and there'd be two, one on top and one below, like bars going, one solid bar. So the north side would stay up. Then they'd have the south side running also down. It was about, let's say it was about 200 feet. 200 feet. And then the north side, the south side also was 200 feet of gold, this gold picket fence. And then the back side, let's call it the west side, also. And then they had also two bars going, one on the top and one on the bottom, through the wood, holding the wood together. Okay? Then this is the magic. They had one more bar. They put it through the north, through the wood. It went through the west, took a right-hand turn, took another right-hand turn, and went through the south side. So the one solid piece of of silver, went all the way through on two right-hand turns, going right through all the wood, holding it together. I'll give you another miracle that happened. That where the ark was, in the room the ark was, the room was, let's say, about 40 feet wide, okay? And from one edge of the ark, one side of the ark, it measured 20 feet. From the other side of the ark, okay, it measured 20 feet. But the ark took up no room, because from each side of the ark, it was 20 feet on each side. The whole room was only 40 feet. And every time you took out a tape measure, that's what you kept getting. You go, this is impossible. The ark's got to take up some of that room. But no, it's 20 feet from one side of the ark. It's 20 feet from the other side of the ark. What about the middle of the ark? It didn't take up any room. What's that mean? That means when you add when you add Torah to your life, it doesn't take up any room. You think, I can't learn today. I can't get on the phone call today. I got this to do and that to do and this to do. This 18 minutes, I'm promising everybody on this phone call, it doesn't come out of your day. You don't get the red light. The phone call goes through who you got to talk to. You avoid some whatever situation that's going to hold you up. By the end of the day, that 18 minutes, God made it. He slipped it. He avoided 18 minutes of whatever that would never have mattered in your life. And that's why people take on learning seders, are called learning every day, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour. They know in the long run of their lives that Torah is not going to come out of their ultimate accomplishment of their life, raising their families, providing whatever else. You know, they may have to give up, like I did, you know, half of the Super Bowl. But given the Super Bowl, you could have given up the whole thing. You wouldn't have missed anything too much. It was 5 minutes of highlights. But that's the idea. Of course, it's good to meet with the camaraderie of watching it with people is fun. But that was the idea. The Torah doesn't take up any room. It physically took up no room. Little further, and then they built a big fence around the entire structure. There was an altar, and this is the controversial part of the Torah, is that we did animal sacrifices, and yes, they're going to bring them back later, but we're going to be in a different state of mind. We'll understand what animal sacrifices are. Totally not our subject today. So that is the construction, and I want to leave you with one thought over Shabbos, and that is the ark was gold on the outside, wood. It was made of wood, so it was plated with gold on the outside of a wood box, and then gold on the inside of the box. So it's gold outside, wood, and gold. We say a person, as you are on the outside, so shall you be on the inside. So we look at, and that is our goal. That's when we learn Torah. We want to be proper and whatever we are on the outside, and there should be we should not be hypocrites. We should be people that walk our talk. That is, and all the instruments all the vessels that they built in the temple, all had deep significance and symbolism that we could learn out from these things. They had a lot of Kabbalistic intent when they built them. And just looking at the ark was giving you a message. And, Torah should be making you on the outside like you are on the inside, and on the inside you should be like on the outside. One last idea, because I do have, I think my time is up.
No minutes left.
No minutes left. Okay, everybody, good Shabbos, and we'll continue next week with more interesting secret insights into this construction in the desert. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good Shabbos. Thank you.
Good Shabbos, boys.
Bye.